Welcome back, my friends, to the Moto Guzzi show that never ends. What are we looking at today? Well, we're going to take another look at Amal carburetors. Now, we all know why the 1974 Guzzi has got Amals on and not Eldorado, don't we? Well, the reason is, of course, that Eldorado were on strike and wouldn't or couldn't supply Guzzi, but Guzzi wanted to carry on making bikes. So they went to Birmingham and spoke to Amal, and Amal were delighted to provide them with their latest and greatest carburetor. I say that with a certain amount of sarcasm. Anyways, okay, so your bike has got these on. What are you going to do? Are you going to keep on using them, or are you going to replace them? Well, if they're in good condition, you might as well leave them on. Personally, I don't think they're quite as good as the Eldorado, but I think they're good enough. So decision making, do we keep them or what? Well, if they're worn out, they're obviously not worth keeping. You should replace them. And then your decision is, do you go with Amals or do you go with Eldorados? Well, that's up to you. But let me show you a few things about Amals. Now, these carburetors are prone to wear, and the reason that they're prone to wear is because of this and that, because of the slide and the bore. The slide is unsupported in the bore. Let's look at the previous model, the monoblock. Now the monoblock has an advantage in so much as that thing down there. Well, what is that? Is that the slide? No, it's not. This is the slide. Very similar to a concentric, although the needle attachment and the needles are different. The needle on these is attached at the top, on those it's attached at the bottom. But this is an old carburetor, so take a good look at that slide. It's not too bad, is it? Not too bad at all. Got a few scuffs on it. Got to be as old as the hills, got to be from the 1950s. Okay, so the purpose of that support, which you can just about see in there, is to stop this slide from rattling backwards and forwards with the vibration of the engine. And we all know that old bikes vibrate. So the vibration, what it does is it wears this out, wears the slide out, and you can see the wear on it. You can see that circular wear. Okay. So on these carbs, this is just hanging and it will rattle back into you. So eventually they just wear themselves out. Okay. And the way to tell if they're worn is to pop them in. I'm going to go one way. Pop them in like so. Now if they slide up and down, that's a bonus, because what that means is that nobody's hit it with a hammer. You'd be amazed what people do. But the next thing you do is pop it in, then you bring it back a bit, about there, and you put your finger in and wiggle it. Can you hear that rattle? This carburetor is worn out. Excuse me, I'm one-handed here, not doing very well. Get in there, you bugger. There we go. Also, you can put your finger behind it and tap the slide. Don't do it at the bottom and don't do it at the top, but halfway. You see that? And I think that's moving at least an eighth of an inch. That is worn out. Now this is a slide for this other carb, and that one's not too bad. This is the carb off my Eldo. This is the slide, and this one is not too bad. That one is damn near perfect. This one has had a little bit of wear. You see the grooves on it. You see the muck up at the top. That was caused by a cut in the air cleaner hose, so she was sucking a bit of dust in through there. The bike has got 25,000 miles on the clock. So it hasn't been running without an air cleaner for 25,000 miles, otherwise I think it would be totally worn out. But this is not too bad. I'll put it in the bore and I just get a perceptible amount of movement. So this is going to get a bit of a polish with metal polish, a bit of a clean and put back in. We'll run her for a while, run her for a couple of years and see how she looks then. So that's the carburetor slide. That's the most important thing now. If your carburetor is buggered, if it's worn out, like that is, don't use it. Get a new one, or you can get them re-sleeved with brass and other metals, and then you can put a new slide in. Or maybe they just sleeve them and they just put brass on here. I can't remember what they do anyway. There are two that I know of. There's two companies that make these. There's Amal Premier, something like that, which is the original company, Amal, which has been bought out by somebody else who revived the company. And then there's Wassel, who I think have their carbs made in China. They're supposed to be good. I don't really know. I've not had any experience of them. I always seem to be able to find good used carbs, but people do speak highly of them. So anyway, that's a consideration for you. Now, one of the biggest faults of these carbs is that people over tighten the flange where it meets the engine here. Now, why they want to do that, I don't know, but they usually have a good old wrench on it, and you know, this one's got locking nuts on, which I don't really agree with. But so what happens is the stud gets pulled out the head. But they wrench on them and they warp this head, this face where it meets the cylinder head. And there's a very simple cure for it. Where did my carb go? Let's use this one. See, that's dull. That's the face we're looking at. So you get yourself a piece of glass. You get yourself a piece of emery, and you give it a good old rub, cut in two, back and around. And this is rather fine emery, but it's all I had for hand. I think it'll work for demo purposes. Obviously, use two hands. So let's have a look at what we've got. You can see this one has definitely been over tightened. You can see the shiny bits on the side. Yeah, can you see that? So give them a rub, flatten them off. The other area is the float bowl. Now it's harder to buckle this, but some people manage okay. So give that a rub too. So you can see shiny bits. Yeah, 5 minutes rubbing that would be fine. Okay. While we're looking at this, you can see those two holes, the side on either side of the brass fitting, where the fuel gets sucked up to go into your pilot jet circuit. So make sure they're clear. Give them a poke out with a bit of wire or something. They don't get blocked very often, but if you do get a lot of sediment in the bottom of your carb, that can affect that. Right, talking about pilot jet circuits. Now the Amal monoblock is a great carburetor because you could take this cap off, and right underneath there's your pilot jet. So if you got muck in your fuel and your pilot jet got blocked, you can take that off. Take it out if you want, give it a good old clean, blow it through, put it back in, and you're good to go. Now, Amal decided that they didn't want you to do that. So when they came out with a concentric carb, they hid the pilot jet right down in the middle of the carburetor. right down here, inside. Okay, but they were kind enough to give you a hole here, which used to have a brass screw in it, which you could take out, and then you could poke a piece of wire down and clean out your pilot jet. And then they decided they could probably save about 25 pence if they blocked it off with a piece of alloy. So that's what they did, they blocked it all off. So you can't get at it from that side. You can get at it from the other side, which is where your air screw is. Okay. So you take your air screw out, which is this dealie. Take that out completely. Get yourself a piece of wire. In this case it's 035 aluminum welding wire. Sorry, I'm trying to thread this through, looking through the camera. What happens in real life and what the camera shows don't really jive. But as you press it through, you'll feel it hit one edge there. Give it a little wiggle, it'll go through. You'll feel it hit something else, and then it'll hit the end. So now you're all the way through. Oops. You're all the way through. And see how far that went? So we're in this area here. So we've gone through where the pilot jet is. Okay, pilot jet is there, the mixer's there, and then the fuel comes out. Tiny hole down in there. Okay, so you give it a wriggle with that piece of wire. Give it a wriggle with a piece of wire, and you get your air hose. And you blow through there. You get your carburetor cleaner, blow through there. Cover that one up because you don't want the air coming out of here, because that's your air intake for the pilot circuit. So cover them up. Give it a blast of some air, and hopefully it will push any shit down here and out through here. Now then, I've shown you something I didn't want to show you. Okay. All right. So what we got here is where the fuel comes out, and you can do a conversion. You can do a conversion where you move the pilot jet from here and you put it there, which makes it easy to clean in theory. Now this carburetor, oh Gordon Bennett, where are we? Where did it go? Oh, this carburetor here, the conversion has been done. Somebody has moved, it wasn't me, honest, I only found this the other day. Somebody's moved the pilot jet from there, where it's hidden, and they've tapped out this little hole here. They've tapped out that hole and they've put the pilot jet there. So now you can get a screwdriver and clean it out. I'm laughing at myself because I hadn't even spotted this. Bloody hell. Yeah, so you can see that's where the pilot jet is. I believe that's where it is on the new carbs. Anyway, well, I've discovered something today. That's amazing, isn't it? Anyway, so you can do that. But the only problem is that you have to take the, if you get a pilot jet blocked on the road, you have to take the float bowl off to get at it. So that might be awkward on some bikes. Otherwise, you can stop at the side of the road, take the air screw out, and then you can give it a jiggle and a poke like that. That'll clean it out. Right. What else do I want to say? Oh, regarding slide wear. This is the top of the carb. Now if you look at the one that's going to be used on the Guzzi, it's got two adjusters there. Now one is for the throttle cable, the one in the middle, and the one is for the choke cable or the air slide there. Now if you are in an area that is temperate and you don't need the air slide, the chokes to start your bike, leave them out. Leave them out. They're just a pain in the arse, they get in the way. But one thing you must do, if you do that, you must block this hole up. Now this rusty thing is where the choke cable goes in. Ignore the other one. So if you're going to do without the choke, the air slide, which is that thing, you got to block that hole up. So put a dab of silicone in there, put a a tire valve dust cap on the top of it, or take it out completely and buy a fancy little bolt from Amal to go in there. Do whatever you like, but you've got to do that, because otherwise air will come in through there and it will come down the barrel of your carb. And I think it was on this one that happened. I think it was on this one, and the carburetor slide wore quite badly. It's the one that fell on the floor, of course. Okay, so if you look at this carburetor slide, where the cutout is where the air comes in, and the air is supposed to go underneath, obviously, and into the engine. But look at this, all this muck has been created up here. And look at all that black on the side of the carb, and compare it to the clean sides of all the others. The clean sides of all the other sides and slides. Right, so what's been happening here is air's been coming down. Is that the right way? Yeah, air's been coming down through here. Sorry, I lost you for a minute. Air's been coming down through this hole alongside here, and then coming around the side of the carb. There's this slide here, and it's caused this muck to be accumulated and this wear right there. Now I've no idea what this came off. These are some carbs that we had lying around and I found a few days ago. Probably a 500 twin or something like that. I'm not entirely sure. They're 26 mil, so they're a little small for a bigger bike like a 650. They're a bit small for that, so maybe on a 500 or a 350 single or something like that. So anyway, I think that's what happened there. So be warned, block off that hole. And I think as I'm looking at 17 minutes, I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to do a second part to this video. So hope I haven't bored you to death. So if you've made it this far, you're doing bloody well. Anyway, take care of yourself, look after one another. Remember to feed your Guzzi dog and your Guzzi cat, and keep riding them Guzzis. Bye for now.